Good afternoon, folks. Jerry Sisson here, MyTechNetwork, and I'm your host today for Audit Tuesday. I have with me Jeff Kushner is our special guest today. Jeff is the Chief Marketing Officer at Allgress, a very powerful solution for any size organization to automate their governance, risk, and compliance tasks. And it fits very well with our master guest, YouAttest, uh, Mr. Garret Grajek, the CEO of YouAttest. Thanks for joining. Some of you I see on here, familiar faces, going back to where Jeff and I first met at our first software company, BindView Development. So special welcome to you folks. Good to see you. And forgive me for not following up sooner. We definitely all need to reunite, especially in today, in what's happening around our world, really, and especially the business world, with cyber threats escalating by the day, right? Scaling identity, governance, risk, and compliance for security and compliance is a big topic right now, and compliance requirements are tightening. Organizations they need flexible, expert-driven solution to help automate this. If you're trying to throw people at that, good luck with that. You need to automate, and we've got two great solutions here that work very well together. I think you're going to see the combination. So thanks for joining. Again, my name is Jerry Sisson. I am founder and principal of what I call MyTech.network, which really is a private member association. If you know me and you're in tech, you're a member. And really, I am just an independent fractional biz dev rep. I have three other team members that work with me. All combined, we've got about 100 years of experience in delivering game-changing, innovative solutions to clients. I have a total of 6 cybersecurity clients that I'd love to share with you guys sometime. Please reach out. Jerry at mytech.network or information at mytech.network is a very easy way to reach. And 6 cybersecurity solutions. I have also just recently, as a matter of fact, I was part of a panel last week at the South Lake AI Energy Conference. There's a big concern around AI and crypto driving the data center boom is real. And if you notice, there wasn't more than about 10 to 12 billion a year spent on data centers globally from about 2005 to about 2021. Suddenly in 2023, there's about $140 billion, about $135 billion in spend. Our grids aren't going to sustain that. And so there's a new solution that's actually been on the market since about 2005. It's really getting a lot of buzz and attention. It's called immersion cooling. And I'll love to share that with you later. But that's just a little bit about me. I've got solutions. If you're in a sales organization, we've got solutions that can really help you listen to the people standing in front of your customer about what really matters and give you some predictability on which of your products are going to be most successful. I have solutions in the healthcare area for ensuring or automating the process of rep credentialing. That's huge. That whole portfolio of clients is growing almost by the day. I work with partners, value-add resellers, as well as these solution providers. I'm really a fisher and connector of people with technology that really bring to the table the innovative little guys. I spent years with the monoliths, charging millions of dollars for solutions that just people are still getting hacked, and they really didn't integrate it well and they weren't able to really bring digital transformation alive. Some were, many weren't. So I'm glad to be an independent in this time of my life. I should be retired by now, but the closest I'll get is I was retired. I was tired yesterday and I'm tired again today. So that's somewhat retired. Anyway, so all kidding aside, that's me. I want to turn over to Jeff Kushner. Jeff, tell us about yourself. What do you do? Tell us about your solution, where you've been. You and I go way back to the early 90s, where I started at BindView, and you were, I think, not far from behind me, or you were already there. I forget. But we've been in this space and know a lot of people in this space, and some of them are here with us today. So say hi.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that. Well, my background has been is through various leading companies and primarily IT systems management, security, and compliance. Currently, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Allgress. If you're not familiar with Allgress, the company's been around since 2008. We provide automated governance, risk, and compliance solutions, really built for organizations and their partners that must pass audits, meet regulatory requirements, despite having a limited staff budget and in-house expertise. We've really been a leader in purpose-built automated GRC solutions from the beginning. We've always been customer focused in managing the GRC lifecycle, and we continue to add improvements to our solutions. One of the big things that we've done is we've integrated existing assessments, policies, and audits to help customers migrate from traditional spreadsheets to more automated approaches using AI.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to be here with us today and just kind of share your experience and your thoughts around compliance and risk management.
Absolutely.
Garret, give us a quick intro on yourself as well.
Garret Grajek here, who's going to start off by saying big shout out to Jerry. In fact, I'm posting his link, the MyTech.network, to the LinkedIn chat here. Team, I'm a technologist. My friend Jeff he's in a GRC company. Jerry adds a lot of value. What he's doing, and this is as tech people know that the Jerry's a world of big helpful. He's got all these contacts, all this stuff. He listens to what I says, listen to the babble I do on these, and goes, Bob, you should look at this one. This is what matters, okay? Jane, this is differentiating. This is what you were talking about. It's great to have someone in all these meetings like Jerry who then knows, hey, that's where I bring up Garrett's product. That's it. Garret Grajek, focused identity guy. That's who I am. I know identity, okay? I got it depends what whether it's Grok or whatever, somewhere between 10 and 18 patents in identity, focused on topics such as single sign-on, two-factor identity compliance, and also AI in identity, which we'll get into about how it could be used and how it should be used, not just today, and how it should be used in the future. But for that, right now, CEO, head of YouAttest, a product that simplifies identity governance. And this webinar is focused on v-CISOs. Identity governance is not something that most v-CISOs are good at because the tools are written wrong. They're not bad tools. No one's putting down the tools. It's not, if you're a v-CISO and you're administrating 6 different companies, you ain't going to get the legacy tools and deployed and run at all 6 of those companies. That's pure fantasy. That's 2 or 3 lifetimes. Okay. We wrote a product here that does identity governance, and you can knock it out in an hour. Take it away, Jerry.
Awesome. Well, great introduction, and thanks for the plug, Garret. It means a lot. I really appreciate that. Look, I'm a believer. I'm a believer. It's not who you know; it's who knows you, right?
Nice.
And I'd rather be a go-giver than a go-getter, and give people a connection that really makes sense and people can really value from. So thanks for that. And if there's solution providers out there that I'd love to talk to you about how I can help you connect as well. So let's kick it off. Jeff, start with the big picture. How are v-CISOs reshaping the way organizations approach governance, risk, and compliance today? Especially for businesses that can't afford a full-time CISO.
Absolutely. Well, I think one thing that's real important, that it isn't just about cybersecurity. It's about organization, their risk, their reputation, growth, and survival to meet growing cybersecurity threats for sure, and compliance mandates that are continuously changing. Experience in a timely manner counts, and that's where v-CISOs really come in. And keep in mind that it's not only organizations, it's their partners, because they form an extended ecosystem that really it impacts a company's risk posture. And fractional resources that they provide value right away, that are delivered faster, smarter and more cost effectively than full-time employees, because organizations struggle with the challenge of, small staff, constant changes, constant personnel flux is a big one, lack of in-house expertise, and overall overwhelmed resources, making the demand to engage a v-CISO even greater.
That's awesome. Yeah. And Jeff, I've known you a long time. I know you've been in this marketing space. You spend a lot of time talking to a lot of customers, and it's important to listen to them and really understand, what are their biggest challenges. So, if you mind share with us, what do you hear organizations? What are their biggest challenges they're facing aligning GRC strategies, with modern security threats, and how does CISOs, even especially v-CISOs, bridge that gap? I hear a lot from customers, from partners. Customers just don't care about security until it's too late, until they get hacked, right? They don't care. They don't care as much about compliance. They have to care about compliance. If they fail it, there's heavy fines in that, especially industry focused, especially around HIPAA, the financial industry. They have to meet those. Federal contractors now under CMMC have to meet that compliance. You remember when you and I were back at my first software company, Mindview? It was about the time Sarbanes-Oxley came out, and shortly after. And we used to do these roadshows with Ernst & Young. And I remember Carl Levitt, the former SEC chairman, he did that roadshow with us, and he was one of the keynote speakers. And first thing he'd come out and say is, it really doesn't matter what framework you're using for compliance. It doesn't matter which products you're automating, whether you're using, it doesn't matter your strategy. What matters when it comes down to it, compliance is about the person that's going to decide who is compliant is your mom and mine, because that's who will be sitting on the jury, right? So if it ever comes to a case regarding whether or not you were compliant, and he also said, he followed that up. He said, security. He said, good compliance does not always equate to good security, but good security can definitely equate to good compliance. So, talk a little bit about that. What do you hear from customers? I mean, are they really taking this seriously around compliance and risk management?
It's interesting looking at from the standpoint of there's two ways to look at it. One way is looking to what you're looking to achieve. Are you looking to become compliant, or are you looking to be secure? Because they do overlap, but they're two different things. I think the road to get there is where part of the failure is, that customers are not achieving efficiency for multiple reasons. That creates higher exposure for bad actors and larger attack surfaces. And it's mainly because the use of traditional manual assessments using spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are still the number one method that's used for assessment and tracking of security and compliance gaps. So that makes organizations challenged by manual processes that come with spreadsheets, because you have no single system of record. It's very reactive. When something happens because you hear it on the news, is your reporting is static. It's not dynamic because you don't have continuous monitoring to identify threats and compliance gaps from the constant changes in the environments, mandates continually change. Everything's continuing to change, not only in an organization's ecosystem, but in their partners. And I think that many times organizations they don't think about that their partners extend what they already have, so they can potentially be a risk factor that have to be considered and assessed. And the other thing is really customers, I think we all do. We all look at the shiny objects in front of us, and we make these checklists. And customers end up having these complex, costly solutions that they do everything under the sun, but they only end up utilizing a little fraction of the functionality. And so a lot of complexity there. Of course, limited budget, lack of resources, overburdened staff. And like I said, it's really important to consider that third-party ecosystem. So I think this is really where v-CISOs bridge the gap by having the required expertise right out of the gate. They help customers evaluate the effectiveness of what they already have and suggest other solutions that
Right tools in their toolbox. Absolutely.
yeah, and they may better help customers meet their objectives and requirements by being a third voice to say, hey, you know what, you're really not using this. This really isn't effective. And they also provide services that customers often require to implement or improve what they already have. So as trusted advisors, CISOs can suggest and utilize purpose-built GRC solutions that provide automation for quick time to value, like YouAttest and Allgress.
Yep. I say it all the time in posts and with customers. An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure, right? So we heard that from our grandmother. And it seems like I see constantly companies just trying to throw more people at a problem where the adversary is using AI and automation to attack you with. Well, good luck with that. That's going to continue until about 3 days after the sun burns out, right? So, you're spot on. Look, if customers can take a shift of focusing their people on being innovative and let the automated solutions, the experts, deal with the complexities around your compliance requirements and helping to keep you secure, leverage AI and machine learning to automate keeping you secure and preventing threats. So access reviews, they're a cornerstone.
Jerry, before we get off on that, I'm going to go straight on. Jeff, I love what you said, and you brought it. The first topic of this was, hey, our processes are wrong. Not the humans are wrong, not we're, bad people, not we're not. But in this is it. I'm going to show a slide here to help exemplify and help people understand how the path we need to take with our processes. And yes, I'm going to talk zero trust. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the mountain slide there, Jeff?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Right. And what both Jerry and Jeff have been talking about is traditionally, and this 100% pertains to you guys, the v-CISOs. I see the consultants, the v-CISOs, the MSPs have to lead this. Because why? You're the adult in a room. You're supposed to say, no one's done anything wrong. Everyone's been working. That's great. But our processes have to change. And there's a whole concept about this. You don't have to explain zero trust to people, but people do like saying, hey, this is part of a bigger life cycle, a bigger movement. We need to win, as Jerry, you were just alluding to, saying that if we're being attacked by AI and our processes are manual, we don't have a chance in hell. Okay? So this is what you as the adult in the room v-CISO says. You say, right now, you're at the traditional level. You're doing things manual. You're doing the join, move, or leave stuff manual. You're doing your identity governance manual. You're sending out spreadsheets. You're sending out, tickets, etc. We need to take you to initial. The initial is in the process of GRC is Jeff's product Allgress. It says straight out, here is how we automate and collate the concept of GRC and understand what controls we need to add, because it's an automation tool. In addition, that's what YouAttest is. It is an identity governance solution that you, the v-CISO, can bring in, and we're a service. So you can say, hey, you don't have to learn it. We can just, do the access reviews ourselves, or you can learn the tool and do it yourself. Either way, you can get started in a day and start automating. And just to help you understand the way this advanced is when we ourselves start using advanced technologies, such as not always AI, but inclusive AI triggers, real-time alerts when something in the environment's going on. That's what YouAttest does. It has real-time alerts when people actually change, or people or processes change their entitlements, and you can be alerted by it. And the other part of advanced is start using it. They call it intelligence, AI, to help us digest and to process the information. YouAttest has a patented AI-based identity trust score that a SOC or a v-CISO can look immediately and say, hold it, these are the users we got to review. Okay. And then I get on my soapbox in optimal. When you hear someone said my product's optimal, please throw a pen at them, because no product is optimal. It is when YouAttest, right, and its identity trust score is consumed by whatever, by your app firewall, by Okta, by Azure AD in the policy decisions, in the API that governs the application resources. Optimal, and it's well written, it's a very well written document by the Sisson, in my opinion, it is when these products all work together. But you as a v-CISOs, as Jeff and Jerry started this off, you got to look at them in the eye and say, all right, we've got to automate our processes.
You're absolutely right. That's a great analogy here of the mountain, with zero trust. Yeah. Actually, I have a client that actually supports that very much and fits very well with both of you guys, but from the network perspective of microsegmentation and cloaking. And really, they've coined the term HANA, not to be confused with SAP HANA, but HANA, high availability network access, which really encompasses identity management, zero trust.
I like what you did there, Jerry, side. Because we're talking, I'm a pillar. I'm in the pillar of identity, but the CISA model goes into 5 pillars. Yep. And it is relevant. And that's where you, once again, the adult in the room, the v-CISO said, I get it. We can't attack everything at once, but this is what, in my professional opinion, we should attack. And I'm partial identity and most hacks, but there's no question that stuff like identity and networks and data. My rant on this would be straight out. The biggest problem I've seen in the MSP and the v-CISO community is over focus on devices. They all have, something around devices. I'll throw some malware on it, malware detection, all that. That's fine. Okay. That's not bad. It's not bad work, but that's where the Garretts and Jeffs in the world have to get through to you to say, there's so much more, and it's actually very doable. And I know in my space, identity and identity governance, what my biggest fight is that the legacy tools take so long to get deployed. You tend to think, I'm not going to go down that path. And that's why we simplified this product, and we also turned it into a service. Yep. And I'm sorry, Jerry,
if they can't see you, they can't hack you. And if you got your identities managed properly, internal threats are reduced as well. They can't get to where they're not supposed to get to, right? And wreak havoc. So I want to move on to that last question I had asked before, and thank you for that, Garret. There was great timing on that. But user access reviews, they're the cornerstone compliance frameworks, NIST, CSF, ISO 27001. How do you see v-CISOs prioritizing identity governance to meet these standards? And why is it so critical?
I like it. And let's just bring this up to talk over it, because as a v-CISO, you look in there, you walk in there, you talk in there, and I was a CISO, if you look it up, you have to go, okay, I've looked at the environment you're in and the challenges that you faced, which are unique. And what we started off this call is good security does map to good compliance. All of these enterprises here, because I went through the regulations on the right-hand side for all the verticals, and especially around identity. All of these guidances and regulations map and have language from the key frameworks such as NIST CSF 2.0.
Yep.
Cybersecurity framework. Yep. And then NIST I'm sorry. Take it away.
So Jerry. Is it fair to say NIST, if they're compliant with NIST, they pretty much are going to be compliant with the rest of these, or no? There's other.
If they took the time to map to NIST CSF 2.0, that's a damn good start. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would say so. Jeff. I said that it's almost wherever your starting point is, or whatever you have, there always is overlap in other regulations and standards. NIST has 3 levels of compliance, low, medium, and high. Is the higher tier that you comply with, the more chance you're going to adhere to these other best practices and frameworks. But one thing that I think is real paramount here is doing a gap analysis
Nice.
especially for v-CISOs, to help organizations understand where they stand. And so they know they know where they are. Then they know, with your help, is what do they prioritize? Because, everybody's looking at, when's the next big breach? Is it going to affect me? And so that always has to be really top of mind. And a lot of that has to do with, hey, because in most of these cases, these breaches happen, they go back and say, oh, well, it was because this multi-factor authentication wasn't enabled, or users had access to this resource and they shouldn't have. So you have a data breach. And so you got to know where you stand. Allgress really helps automate that process. And, YouAttest helps you close that gap, especially with identities
So
or
absolutely
resources.
know your standing before you enter into battle. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me say a few
absolutely.
words on the gap analysis. That is so huge. And in fact, Nazia will be, my inside sales is going to be posting to the LinkedIn chat a document that Jeff and I prepared, how Allgress and UAttest work together. And I do see Allgress coming in, goes in there, helps you do a gap analysis. I mean, these are NIST CSF 2.0, let alone 853, are extensive documents, right? And a lot of smaller organizations use CIS 18. Either way, because it's a more condensed compliance. Either way, there's a lot of stuff, right, Jeff? And what is needed is a help and understanding of what the gaps are, and that's what you do as a VC. So you take Allgress, you run it through, you get the gaps, and I'm always assured. I love gap analysis as CEO at UAttest because identity always comes up. It's
Yep.
always come up.
Know your standing if you're going into battle. And like my Marine father always used to say, stand well heeled. Right. And I think it's the solutions like, and I'm not HEALED, that's HEELED, on your heels. And a UAttest and Allgress combined, as well as other solutions from MyTechNetwork, are really ones that will make keep you well heeled. Anyway, getting back to the questions here, you know, uh, you've worked with industry analysts, Jeff. Seeing GRC trends evolve, right? You've been in this space a long time. I guess what's the one piece of advice you give to v-CISOs looking to make an immediate impact in the organizations they're coming into in terms of security and compliance posture? You mentioned it already, the gap analysis, but that's a given, I think, for any of them. But what would you recommend? It would be should be their first priority, especially if they've been hacked, right? They're in the middle of doing the autopsy when that new v-CISO comes in. It'd be good to throw a sheet over the body, right? As they're doing the autopsy. So, give some recommendation there and steps they should take.
Well, hopefully that you get to the steps before having to throw the sheet over the body, right? And that's the gap analysis, figuring out where you stand so you don't get to that point. But I think one big thing we take a step up is for v-CISOs or people providing fractional, assistance to organizations is one thing. Make sure that you have a tightly scoped agreement. Make sure you're using automation. Is have a pilot and to make sure you're delivering clear business value with the momentum to expand your service to broader GRC improvements across the organization. And a lot of this comes to as part of the project. You have to understand the objectives of your stakeholder. What are they trying to achieve, right? And make sure they signed up with the value and the deliverables that you're going to bring, and make sure that allows you to continue to review that over time with them so they know what you're doing, make sure you're making progress. And I often hear that, customers have an agreement with the service provider, but over time, they forget what's in the agreement, and the v-CISOs are providing very good, solid recommendations, but the customers, they sound like a commitment. They sound like you're going to do them. So you have to get the customer back on track for what the expectations are. And so the biggest thing is you got to continue to communicate, provide them with metrics that, so they know where they stand. And really important, make sure that those metrics or that report you're providing them is written in a way that the stakeholder understands. So if the technical stakeholder, it's more speeds and feeds, as I call it, and to a business stakeholder, it's more business metrics. And a lot of times one of those stakeholders reports to another, and so they both have to understand it. So make sure you're using that language in your summary that they both understand. So you can move forward with them and recommend products and solutions that they know is making them more successful than they were.
Yeah, as a v-CISO, you're coming into the organization as a leader, right? Part of the leadership team. Maybe not with the leadership package, but at least you've got the authority to take the lead, and you need to, right? And lead by example. You've got to put in place practices, best practices, bring to the table the tools that are going to really make the difference and lead the organization in that. Garret, I want to talk about, you're specializing in automated user access reviews. Before we go there, talk a little bit about the patents that you've been in this space a long time, and you've got like 10 US patents out there in the identity and access management space. So as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been on the forefront of identity security. Talk a little bit about how you see v-CISOs integrating identity governance into GRC strategies. Talk a little bit about, the specialization you have with YouAttest.
Yeah, and the v-CISOs are actually in a good position when it comes to identity, because what you do is you get to see multiple organizations, and when your brain sees multiple things, you're able to come up with the solutions, and that's directly related to how my brain works around patents. Because what I did was I was an SE programmer and then a sales engineer for many years, but for companies like RSA, Integrity, IBM, Cisco. And what I saw is lots and lots of deployments, which is great. When you see lots and lots of deployments, you start going, this could be simplified, and no one's doing it. I always say, if you want to write patents, if you want to come up with a company, you know what you should do? Just look what the big SIs are doing. What are they charging for? Right?
And automate it.
Yeah, and then automate it. And then automate. And that literally
I've heard you say that before.
What one of the companies was SecureAuth, which was automating putting together two-factor and IDPs together. And then I went over to Cylance and I looked at, basically they were doing genius level work around mapping changes in the desktop to what a hack could be through AI, and they were their first ones to do it. I was like, hold it, if you've got all this AI there, why not also look at what the identity is doing, basically a UEBA on the desktop, and then pass that. And this is where the future is, guys.
Remind me what UEBA is again. I know
UEBA is user entity behavior and analysis.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So what? Yeah, and I'm sorry. Thanks, Jerry. And what that's all about is we, as the computer, as the pieces in the computer puzzle, we actually know what the user is doing. We really do. Doesn't mean we're doing a good job of understanding it, and most importantly, passing it on to the enforcement points. We're not. We're doing a really shitty job, straight out, because part of the enterprises knows what's going on, and then part of the enterprise has no idea what that they know it. And that's where the patent comes from. So is for YouAttest, what I said is, hold it. The GRC part of your enterprise, and it could be 5 people or 5,000 people, right? Someone's doing these access reviews. Someone's doing the governance on the identity. Doesn't mean that the part that is giving access, the authorization part, actually has any idea of that work. And mostly 99.999s, they have no idea of that work. GRC is often just left to seeing someone did it. What I did at YouAttest, I said, hold on, if we're doing all these user access reviews, and I'll just show you a little slide. This is what a user access review, guys, is, and this is how you can either use us as a service or not. This is you. You got all these regulations, you got all these identities. this is YouAttest. We can train you to do this, or we run this as a service. It attest makes the manager say, yes, they should have that. They should have this access. And then we create a report. But Garret, I thought we were talking about a patent in AI. Yeah. What is relevant? And this is true. This process is going on right now across the world on all these companies, all this stuff. And guess what? That information is lost to some report that's filed. And, it's just like the old, Indiana Jones in some vault, right? Why isn't that information quantified into an identity trust score that can then be passed onto where you're doing your authorization decisions?
I hope you're going to show us that later, because that's one of the things I know people would love to see. Awesome.
Yeah.
What's the biggest misconception about identity government, implementing identity governance, would you say?
Well, I think the large organizations have done a good job of making it look like it's way too complicated for the v-CISOs and the MSPs to handle. And that's because, there's a lot of dollars in services around it. That's why there are new tools like YouAttest, and I think that's the revolution out there that simplified the process and basically democratized the concept of identity governance, that you as a v-CISO, we can train you this in a couple of hours, and you can be running these, or it could be we can run it as a service, and you can take it across there. So I think that's the misconception about identity governance now. I think governance in general is a word that has scared off a lot of people. I think we're very comfortable, with RSA being out there and everyone going the last 20 years with the concept of IT security. But governance is the processes and the procedures above security and above implementation that says, hey, I'm actually good with this, and it's on track. It's on track with what the business objectives are. And I think the v-CISOs can really help in this space.
Yeah. And by the way, you talked about, the misconception around the enterprise has made it incredibly complex. Leaves the mid-market to wonder, hey, can we even afford to do this? Well, I'm going to tell you that between these two solutions, that work so well together, Allgress and YouAttest. Allgress being really a solution to help manage and automate the entire process around GRC, especially third-party risk management, but also the integration between the reports being fed into Allgress from YouAttest and your user access reviews. Both solutions very affordable to get into, to entry into, especially in the mid-market space. Don't think you can't afford to do this and automate it, because you can. Drawing on experience with certifications. Garret, you've got all of them, I think, in the cybersecurity and compliance space. One key challenge that the v-CISOs are facing is ensuring the compliance with those standards. And how does talk a little bit about how YouAttest is really simplifying that process and make it easier and affordable to get into, and then businesses that are looking to scale their GRC programs. What's the one thing you'd leave them to focus on?
Because there's two questions there. There's one about the certifications, then about what to leave. First of all, I want to give a shout out to what Jeff answered one of his questions. That was straight out of the CISM or CGEIT, both ISACA certifications. Goes, understand the requirements of the stakeholders. Okay, that's how we as v-CISOs, because I always was I can't say that. Maybe I'll try it in German.
You're getting all tangled up.
Yeah, it is understand what the requirements are of the stakeholders and what they really want you to do, and then explain your activities in the language that they understand. That's what I got out of the certifications. Is that you gotta talk to the stakeholders, and then you gotta speak to their language. Because God knows, and me talking to another patent guy about what I want to do with shared signals and all that, that's not relating to boardroom discussions. So Jeff, I'll let you.
I think that Garret, that you hit the nail on the head, and I think that happens many times because a lot of the folks that are involved are very IT security oriented, and they're used to those speeds and feeds.
Right.
And is, that the stakeholder chain, you eventually are getting to a business person, and they don't understand the speeds and feeds. So if they're at risk, they don't know it. And then when they get breached, they go, well, what happened? And, the report is speeds and feeds. And it's like, well, I didn't understand that. And it's because whoever created the report didn't, either didn't understand, or they didn't effectively communicate that there was a real risk there and whether it should be addressed or not.
And Jeff, and Jerry, that's exactly what the certifications are talking about now. They're talking about how us in the IT world talk to the board, talk to this, and the word is governance, but through what? And it's through things called KPIs, key performance indicators, and KPRs, key risk indicators. Okay. And we got to metric size, and we have in YouAttest, metric size our work so we can explain and saying, hey, these are our risks. This is what I'm seeing. That's what stuff like the identity trust score does. It quantifies our risk. And then we also put a KPI in when's the last time you've reviewed this group of users, this applications, the stuff that's running your business. That's the stuff, and I would look straight again to the v-CISOs. That's the stuff that Allgress and YouAttest provides for you. It provides you the KPIs to say, we're doing our job, and the key risk indicators, this is where we need to do better.
Yep. The when and the what.
Yep. Yeah. Guys, in the essence of time, I want to wrap up the Q&A portion of this because I want to give the opportunity for Garret to kind of show the solution, from a high level, a quick little demo of it. I think it's going to be very impressive and very well fitting. So as Garrett's pulling that up, I guess, Jeff, I'll turn to you first. What's the one thing that you would leave the v-CISO with, in terms of ensuring security and clients that they should focus on? And also, by the way, while you're answering that, I want to give out the call or the invite to solution providers out there that may be listening to this, that you feel you have a solution that would fit well with YouAttest, and even would love to come on one of these webinars as a guest speaker and talk about it. Would love to have you. Please reach out, Jerry at MyTech.network. You can also it's the easiest one to remember. Believe we have emails that are put up, or reach out to us on LinkedIn. Reach out to Garret or myself. Would love to get you guys on as a guest panelist on this webinar. So Jeff, one thing.
Absolutely. Well, one thing I would say, determine where the organization stands is using, a automated solution that provides efficiencies and accuracy. And, based on that is make a recommendation to the customer in a language they can understand, and suggest what they should do, and whether they should do it now or they can wait.
Yeah, by the way, consultants out there, consultants, you're v-CISO working with consultants, you want them to come in and help you with that standing. We can, I believe YouAttest both YouAttest and Allgress have consultative licenses for these solutions that can help you help your customers, and and leave them with the customer going forward to handle it themselves. Teach them how to do it. Show them how to do it.
Absolutely.
So, Garret, one thing before you demo.
Hi.
Give us the one thing. What's your one thing?
Oh, the one thing. One thing I say is automation.
Yeah.
You, the v-CISOs, have to be looking at people's processes, and you have that luxury. You have that unique spot. The way I look at the MSPs and the consultants, you have that unique spot where you see count to count to count, and you go, holy crap, they have no automation in this pillar.
Yeah.
We need to address this. And then you as an adult in the room looking and says, if we don't have a chance, and I honestly believe that. I don't think that's just talking CISO speak or whatever. You don't have a chance if things aren't automated. Okay.
Y'all remember that? Remember that cartoon when I first started in this business? One of the funniest things I saw, the cartoon where the king is standing in front of this army with swords. He says, "I don't have any time. I'm too busy to talk to a solutions rep today because I'm too busy fighting a battle. I have a battle to fight." And the guy, the Joker, standing behind him with a machine gun. Right. I mean, come on, automate, guys.
And this is, and there was we started off this call and we said something, and I hear it all the time. People don't prioritize security. Okay, that's true, but it's not true. And this is what, having in this chair as a CEO, remember the CEO of that company is paying someone to do security, the v-CISO. He's paying the security. So what he's doing is saying that person's job is to bring up the problem. Now, doesn't make it easy, but Garret, he's not listening. Okay, but just remember that. And if anything goes wrong, he's going to get blamed. And that's why it's got to be documented. It's got to be said, these are the recommendations or whatever. Okay, I'm not going to go in depth, but I'll show you some of the key points. Here's a dashboard. Now, v-CISOs out there like this, we can do this all for a service for you. So don't get freaked out or whatever. If you want to learn, we have all videos. We've trained people over the weekend. They train themselves. You start with your dashboards. There's all sorts of KPIs in this. How much have I done? How much of the users have I actually done? How much of the applications have I actually done? And then if you're a MSP or a consultant with us, your first dashboard has an ability to drill down to all your customers. I'm doing the customers. So basically what we'll just do is I'll show you how easy it is to create an audit on these things. We'll do an app audit, okay? And literally what I say is, and I'll show later, it's connected to the IAM. In minutes, it connects to the IAM. We do this all through SAML and OpenID. Okay, give it a name. Let's date ourselves. No, we're not going to give our dates out, but this 0610. Most important thing is, when is this audit due by? I'm going to say this Friday. Now, real important, this is a no code solution because we've done a lot of code. Okay. We can do this delegated workflow. You can put it in there. I need these set of users, or this user needs a review. Then this set of groups has to review all this. We've done all the workflow. We've done 3.8 million of these. We have concepts of segregation of duty rules. You can put in there. You can even, because some auditors make them still do this, you can even upload a file or a screenshot and the workflow works. Okay. So the bottom line is I'm going to do a real simplified workflow. And now it just pulled the information from the identity resource. I'm going to do a finance audit. We do big audits. We got one customer, we run 900,000 roles through this thing. Another customer uploads 65 megabytes. So some audits, they say, hey, I just want to do 5%. I want to do a sample. I'm going to do the whole thing. Okay. Now, what it's literally doing is it's pulling, auditing the product, it's pulling information. While I'm doing that, I'm going to show you some fun stuff. The real thing about a user access review, remember that build chart? You got to get the managers to review. The process fails in there. It's not, all people in IT are smart. I start with that assumption, right? It doesn't mean the people whose day job isn't IT, which is the managers, are going to be able to do what we ask them to do. That's why we've made it easy. We built all these templates, okay? And the product automates the process of you communicating to the reviewers. That's the real value of YouAttest. It's the process it automates, and that's what we're saying, automates the process of the review. Okay, so that's it. Oh, yeah. And then if you want to run this yourself, like I said, you can get service dollars, or we can run it as a service for you. Integrations are simple. This was designed as, like I said, my brain works that way. When I sit in the back room and listen to someone talk, I'm like, this could be simplified. We made it real simple with SAML OpenID to connect to these resources. All these players have really great APIs by now. And then we pull the relevant data. That's literally what you need to connect to Azure AD. Okay, let's go back to the auto audits. Okay, I was doing an application audit, right? And it's done. What it did is it just pulled up all the stuff. So what I'm going to do is keep as an admin. What's really neat about this is just this console alone has amazing details because it pulled up who has access to this application, Finance 01, which is a SOX audit. I can go into information who has access. I can get each one of these users of access, including who their managers are, or so, and I can do individual actions. I could certify himself or revoke, or, but the most important is delegate. Okay. And what we have done, and this is where I'll pretty much end the audit. What we have done is you can go here and you can auto delegate. Okay. That's how everyone uses this product, because this list could be, in some of mine, it'll be hundreds of users long. And then our product automatically finds the manager, right? And then goes out there and then sends an audit. Auto delegate and process. That just saved you your weekend. That's my other browser that's ready to say, here it goes. And I'll even bring that one up, that it's saying, hey, I'm ready to this. Here is the reviewer. Here's those troublesome, wonderful people who have day jobs. This is what the product does from. They receive in real time a delegation email. That was the beep that you heard. Okay. And then the product 0610A, remember that? The product goes, okay, look at this. This is what your reviewer sees. They see only what they need to approve, only that. And we built out, give them all the information they need, and then they have all these abilities. They can certify, revoke, or they can redelegate. Hey, I don't control Janie anymore. Bob should review that. And we have all the features built in, like, okay, what do we need? Do you need to do a comment? Some auditors make you do a comment. We have worked for 5 years with wonderful internal auditors, like the people you work with, VCs, or even some of yourselves, and they take the feedback from the external auditors and they help us build the product. Okay, we will show you more, all the features and all that kind of stuff, but I wanted to give you guys a simple overview of this.
Awesome. Very nice. Great job, guys.
Yeah.
So I guess it's, we'll wrap this up. It's coming up on the top of the hour,
Nice.
about 9 minutes from it. I think it's perfect timing to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you both, gentlemen, for your expertise and your insights around GRC and cybersecurity overall. I think you want to talk before we go. You did a really great overview, Garret, around the value proposition, the combined value proposition between YouAttest and Allgress. You want to talk to that just for a minute as we leave the attendees with that?
Here is the main thing to remember. Gap analysis, right? Mm-hmm. You're the v-CISO, you get D-Day'd into a company, right? And that's the job. And I got good buddies that are v-CISOs. I play par 3 golf because that's the only time he's got. Okay. And I enjoy those times I talk to him. You get dropped in, right? And the first thing you should do is, I need to do a gap analysis. I need to know what you have and what we need to work on, right? And that's exactly what Jeff's product Allgress is in a fantastic way. Does a gap analysis, right? And I'm so confident I work with them that I say straight out, all good. That's now what we do is identity is always no one's knowing it. What did we all learn from Southern?
Not just does a gap analysis, but automates the majority of that gap analysis.
Yeah, absolutely. Is take all that heavy lifting and automate that and use AI. And so one of the real beauties is that you have all these, you can take what you already have or what you don't have and put that all together to see what that looks like. So if you're using spreadsheets or you already have a SOC 2 certification, you can take all that and use that to determine, hey, where do I stand right now? And it makes it very easy.
Right. And after you do the gap analysis, one of the things that probably come up is that we're not regularly reviewing our users and we're not regularly reviewing the privileged users. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest problem. And that's where the hacks come in and all that stuff.
Well, the non-human identities as well. That's getting, those are, oh my God, those are just getting bigger and bigger with AI. And automated solution.
NHIs, non-human identities. Yes.
Yeah, I think that the other thing that is, a lot of times that when you're giving somebody a privilege, you're giving them lots of privileges, and you don't know exactly what those individual privileges are. And so the people get to potentially access resources that you didn't really know that maybe they had access to, but as part of whatever platform, it gives a group of privileges. And then, you may not know what individually is actually, being provisioned for a user.
Awesome.
Hey, Jerry,
Guys, let's
I was
give
asked a question, and let me answer it. Someone asked, Nazia pinged me on the LinkedIn thing about patents. How long did it take a patent? About 2 years, y'all. Real important. As soon as you get that idea or whatever, write it up. Remember, patents are not engineering documents. Yes.
And let MyTechNetwork introduce you to a great patent attorney.
Nice.
I know you have one as well already, Garret.
No, Jerry, that's great.
I'd love to refer
but,
to
but
people,
the ones that you're like, mine one knows how to talk to me, so that's why I use them. But but it's real important, because remember, when you're writing the patent, what you're writing is a concept of an idea. And what I've learned to do, and that's, if anyone wants to talk to me, I write like a generic document, and then I give over the same version over to a patent attorney, and then also to a product manager to build. Okay. But that's how I like to write them. But think about it as 2 years. In theory, you can do fast track, and they're supposed to be able to get that in a year. Okay. I won't comment. All right. All the best. That's my answer to that.
Right.
2 years.
Well, let's try to give 4 minutes back to the audience. Thank you all, folks, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Audit Tuesday.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thanks, y'all.
day, rest of week. Thank you.
Thanks.